I had been dating Sophia for a year when she invited me to her family's massive estate in the hills. Sophia's family was old money, the kind that built half the skyline and never let you forget it. Her father, Lorenzo, was a titan of industry who believed that if you weren't born into their circle, you were invisible. They're intense, Sophia warned me. They value legacy and education above everything. Just try to ignore my brother, Marco. I nodded, adjusting my tie. What Sophia didn't know was that while I dressed in simple flannels and worked as a freelance consultant, I had graduated top of my class from the world's leading architectural firm and had designed 3 of the buildings her father currently owned. I just preferred to keep my professional life and my private life separate. The dinner was a masterclass in snobbery. So, Leo, Marco said, swirling a glass of wine that cost more than my first car. Sophia tells us you do consulting. That's usually code for unemployed, isn't it? The table chuckled. I just smiled and took a bite of my steak. I keep busy, I said quietly. It's a shame, Lorenzo added, looking at me with pity. Sophia needs someone with vision. We are currently in a legal battle over the blueprints for our new headquarters. The architect, some genius named L.V. Sterling, is a recluse, and his designs are so complex our engineers can't even interpret the load-bearing specs. A man like that has power. A man like you, well, you're just a guest. For an hour, they dissected my lack of ambition. They talked about me as if I were a charity case Sophia had picked up. Marco even joked that I probably couldn't read a blueprint if it were held upside down. Then, the youngest sister, Elena, came into the dining room crying. She was a first-year architecture student and was hyperventilating over a massive 3D model she had to submit the next morning. It's collapsing, she wailed. The cantilever won't hold, and I don't know why. Lorenzo sighed. Marco, go help her. Marco looked at the model and scoffed. It's a lost cause, Elena. You clearly didn't inherit the family brain. That was it. I stood up. The room went quiet as I walked over to the model. I didn't say a word. I took a pencil from her desk, sketched a quick structural adjustment on a napkin, and then reached into the model. With 2 precise movements, I shifted the weight distribution and snapped a support beam into its true center. The model stabilized instantly. It looked beautiful. The vector was off, I said, my voice cutting through the silence like a knife. You were calculating for a static load, but with this much glass, you need to account for thermal expansion. Also, tell your professor you used the Stirling method for the base. Lorenzo's fork hit his plate with a loud clack. The Stirling method. How do you know that? Only Stirling's inner circle knows that. I walked back to the table, wiped my hands on my napkin, and looked Lorenzo dead in the eye. I know it because I wrote it, I said calmly. I am L.V. Sterling. And for the record, the reason your engineers can't read my blueprints for your headquarters isn't because they're complex. It's because they're looking at the 2023 revisions I sent last month, the ones your office ignored because they didn't like the tone of my email. The silence was absolute. Marco looked like he wanted to vanish into the floorboards. Lorenzo's face turned a deep shade of purple. I think I'll skip dessert, I said, kissing Sophia on the cheek. I have a consultation to get to. Sophia, I'll be in the car. I walked out. The next morning, I had 16 missed calls from Lorenzo and a bouquet of flowers delivered to my office with a note that simply read, "We were blind. Please come to dinner on Friday. We have much to discuss, including the headquarters." I sent the flowers back with a note of my own. I'm busy. Talk to my assistant.